In this bulletin, Adventists hold a conference in Australia to explore the common ground they share with Islam. Hymnals are translated for different South Pacific language groups, and a bus driver refuses to drive a bus carrying anti-God slogans. This is InFocus News. Hello, thanks for joining me. I'm David Gibbons. A conference at Avondale College has explored the realities of Islam in the world today and the common elements it shares with Seventh-day Adventist beliefs. Held late January, the Understanding Islam Conference attracted 185 church leaders, pastors and members from Australia, New Zealand and the South Pacific, as well as Thailand and the United States.
We have a mission to the Islamic people because God loves them. They are about 1 in every 5 persons is a Muslim around the world. They are children of God. Spiritually, they are children of Abraham, as we are. And the everlasting gospel that God has said, take to the whole world, that has to include them.
Organisers at Avondale College are planning for this to be the first in a series of summer conferences addressing cutting-edge topics from an Adventist perspective. Thousands of Christians from a variety of denominations came together in Melbourne for Australia Day prayers. They were joined by former Federal Treasurer Peter Costello in the Melbourne Town Hall.
I can't think of a more important thing to be doing than to unite in prayer on this, our national day, for our nation.
The call for prayer focused on the needs of the Australian government, the faltering economy, Australia's armed forces overseas, farming communities, Indigenous people and young people. Last year, Baptist, Anglican, Presbyterian, AOG, Uniting, Salvation Army, Catholic and other Christians prayed on Australia Day for rain. A dispute between a radical Catholic congregation and its Archbishop is regularly making headlines in Brisbane, Australia. Archbishop John Bathersby wrote to St Mary's Church 6 months ago, threatening it with closure because the church had been promoting a book claiming Mary had 6 children and had introduced an incorrect form of the Eucharist. Details of the conflict are on the St Mary's website. The Seventh-day Adventist hymn book has been translated into the Tongan language, complete with musical notation. Retired Adventist educator Dr. Glyn Litster obtained the copyright for each hymn and also raised funds to print the hymn book. Dr. Litster painstakingly matched each syllable of the Tongan lyrics with the music notes. Over the last 50 years, Dr. Litster has worked on hymn books in various Pacific languages, including Samoan, Gilbertese and Fijian.
I saw the need, and God has blessed me with the talents to be able to do something to help these people be able to sing the hymns.
Dr. Litster is currently raising funds to print a pidgin hymn book for Papua New Guinea. Jesus Racing Team driver Andrew Fisher is putting his faith into action with a visit to the underprivileged in Calcutta, India. Fisher has taken a break from pre-season training to work alongside international aid organisation Compassion, helping the underprivileged and disadvantaged in developing areas of the city. And we'll bring you a fuller report when he returns. Attendees at a conference of Christian thinkers examining the current economic crisis have called for a return to traditional banking values. The conference, held in London, a global finance centre, urged world leaders to turn from a focus on greed and consumption to more sustainable and relational methods of doing business. There's been a new beginning for Seventh-day Adventist regional meetings in South New South Wales. The Adventist Alpine Village in Jindabyne hosted some 500 Adventists for the first time. Church members in southern New South Wales have held their annual convention at a campsite in Goulburn since 1967.
There are quite a few benefits in moving to this site. First of all, it's a much bigger area. The children can play. It seems like nobody's falling over each other.
Guest speaker Herb Larson from the US addressed church members every day during the week.
What I would really like to see people leave this camp with is an understanding of what it takes to have a relationship with Jesus.
Buses carrying anti-God slogans are not only operating in London. The advertising campaign has expanded to other centres around the United Kingdom as well. But one bus driver has put his foot down. Charlotte Hindle brings us this report from Oxford, England.
A Christian bus driver has refused to drive a bus with the atheist slogan, "There's probably no God." Ron Heather was shocked when he saw the slogan and walked off his shift in protest. But the bus company will allow him to drive other buses that do not have the atheist signs. Buses across Britain are displaying atheist messages in an advertising campaign backed by the British Humanist Association and prominent atheist Professor Richard Dawkins. And humanist associations in other countries, including Australia, are preparing similar campaigns on buses as well. The advertisements appear on 200 bendy buses in London and 600 other buses in England, Scotland and Wales. In Oxford, UK, this is Charlotte Hindle reporting for InFocus.
And in breaking news, the anti-God bus ad campaign has now spread to the Catholic nation of Spain and is also scheduled to be launched in Italy in February. A new feature film about a man who carried a cross for 40 years will hit movie theatres in the US and around the world in March. Arthur Blessitt was a pastor in Hollywood, Los Angeles in 1968, who felt impressed to carry a 4-metre wooden cross into the ritzy Sunset Boulevard. The film, The Cross, the Arthur Blessitt story, follows the life of a man of faith who continued to carry the cross for 40 years through 315 nations and territories around the world.
That I would be living my life with the cross as my companion for the next 40 years.
Blessitt survives multiple dangers, including 52 war zones, firing squads and beatings. In 1982, CNN covered Blessitt's lone march into West Beirut to pray with Yasser Arafat. The film opens nationwide in the US on March 27. 25 Seventh-day Adventist church leaders from Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea have been trained to deal with the media in sensitive situations. Participants travelled to Wahroonga, New South Wales to face difficult mock interviews from journalist Nicole Swift in front of a camera. A Seventh-day Adventist church in Nandi has been sheltering more than 30 people for almost a week, according to a report on FijiVillage.com. Flood victims had to share 4 cans of tuna, a packet of milk and some rice. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, ADRA Fiji, is conducting relief work in the country. And well-known Adventist scholar Dr. Samuel Bakioki has died from cancer in the United States, aged 70. Bakioki returned to Rome, the city of his birth, in 1969 to complete a doctorate at the Pontifical Gregorian University. He was the first non-Catholic to be admitted since the university was established in the 16th century. Bakioki was awarded a gold medal in 1974 by Pope Paul VI for his thesis on the decline of Sabbath observance in the early Christian church, based on his research in the Vatican libraries. That's the InFocus news for this week. Thanks for watching. I'm David Gibbons.